Maybe it's because it was uppercase. Okay, so yeah, now it says everything looks good to me. Interesting. I actually didn't know that. If we do time, so 11:00, it'll turn into 11.00. Any other like Mr. Dot turns into just Mr., I believe. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we have to translate in this project. And I'm going to be doing it locally from the GitHub repo and then doing it on VS Code. You can do it on REPL, but REPL is being a piece of crap right now, so I don't know if that's really the best decision. Really, the best decision is to do it locally with me because that's the way real software engineers would do it. Okay, so go to the GitHub repo, we go to the code. You have to make sure that git sem is installed and make sure you have well, I don't think you need a GitHub account just to take their code, but yeah, you just clone this by copying this HTTPS part and then opening VS Code. I'm going to open up a new window for VS Code, and it's going to be my FCC copy from folder. And then inside of here, I'm going to do git clone and paste in that link, and it will clone into my folder structure. And then I just want to open up that folder. So I'm going to open up from FCC copy from my, what is it called? American British English Translator. Yeah, this one. Yeah, it gets cloned in as boilerplate. You can always change the name of that folder if you would like, but I'm just going to keep it the same, whatever. Inside package JSON, we have nodemon server.js, so that's how we start it. npm run start. We'll run this start script, and then that runs nodemon server.js, which actually gets our project running. So the first thing we have to do though is do npm I to install that package, or all of these packages, Babel, Chai, cores.env, all of those guys, nodemon. And then once it's installed, then we can do npm run start. And we don't have to connect to a database for this one, so that's nice. And it says server in use, that's because it's open on my other project. Let me just cancel that quick and then go back. All right, so now I should be able to do npm run start. And there we go. Okay. Now if I go to localhost 3000, we'll have our project. Okay, that's theirs. Let's take a look at ours. Localhost 3000. Here's ours. I have it zoomed in a little bit. But yeah, right now it doesn't do anything. If I say hell, nothing gets translated. All right, so taking a look at this project, what do we have? We have components, which are a bunch of files with the words that need to get translated. Like backhoe become digger, band-aid become elastoplast, apparently. So weird. American British accessorizes accessories, something like that. Eon, Aeon. American British for titles. Oh yeah, this is spelling, and this is just American only. British only would be these ones. Bicky, Cookie, bunch of Bicky ones. Brev, Burgle, Burglarize. Interesting stuff. We're going to do most of our work inside of the translator class and also inside of routes API.js. Here we have to do res.json and respond with something. What if I respond with like text? Hey, what will that give me? Let's try it out. So translate undefined. Perfect. Okay. Let's see what I actually need there. All right. In my original project, I res.json the text and the translation. Okay, so let me just take all this. God. All right, so you'll see we create a new translator here that actually connects with that translator.js file. So this one right here, which has nothing in it, so we actually have to do a lot of work there as well. Let me just paste this in here quick. All right. So what's going on here? First, we're getting the rec.body and we're console logging that, but inside the rec.body is the text and locale. the way you can check what's passed in direct.body, you could check the network tab if you like. So like if I inspect this, I can go to the network tab, and when I translate, it does a fetch, and you can see the payload that is passed in is the stuff right here, locale and text. So that's how I know what's getting passed when I send this button in. I can always look at the network tab for that. Um, yeah, not much more to say there. I could also just console log it inside of my project, and then you'll see that it shows up here if it doesn't crash all the time. Okay. Yeah, because it's crashing because this translator, I'm using this thing in here and this stuff doesn't exist, so that's why it's crashing. But what happens here is if we don't have the locale or text being passed in, then it says required fields missing. If the text is empty, there's no text to translate. Otherwise, if it's American to British, then we do the American to British translation. Otherwise, the British to American translation. If nothing gets passed in for that, then we say invalid value for locale field. If the translation equals the text, then we just say everything looks good to me. Otherwise, we send back the translation with the original text. Okay, so hopefully this part makes sense. Now we're going to take a look at the translator to British English, and let's take a look at that function quick. All right, so this first function to British English takes in the original text, and then we get a dictionary of our American only and our American to British spelling. That's from these files here with all those words in it. And we just create a big object of those. Then we get our titles as well. Um, do our time rejects to translate the time. And then we do this dot translate, which is another function that I need to create. All right, this dot translate, this translate function is kind of large. Uh, it's right here. First, we make all the text lowercase, so it's all standardized. Then we create a matches map, which is just an object. We search for the titles and add them to the matches map. So if they entries.titles, so the titles are these titles, the American to British titles that are passed in. If that is included inside the text, I believe inside the text. Yeah, lower text inside of text basically. If that's included in there at all, then it will put it into this matches map object. Then we filter words with spaces from current dictionaries. So the dictionary is all these words, American only and American British spelling. If they have spaces in them, then we filter those words out. And we search for spaced word matches and add them to the matches map. So yeah, it gets turned into these words with spaces, and then we actually do something with that and add them to the matches map. And then we search for individual words and matches, and we do that with a regular expression right here. And we add those to the matches map as well. And then we search for match times. Get those with lower text.match. The time rejects. The time rejects gets passed in to the function. and it's this thing right here, at least for British English, to British English. Then we take our match times and we replace the colon with a dot. If it's the other way around, then it's dot to colon. If there's no matches, then we return null. Otherwise, we respond with the translation and the translation with highlight. So the translation with highlight takes in another function, or it uses another function that will actually give us whatever was uh, changed in the text. So let me get this function quick. Okay, this function is pretty simple. It takes in the text and the matches map, and wherever the word is in the matches map, it replaces it with text.replace. And we just create a span with the highlight class. And the highlight class is just, I guess, green text, apparently. And that gets, yeah, turns a span. The Yeah, so interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know exactly what's going on here because I don't. And I probably am doing a shitty job explaining this stuff. But the important thing is that you can copy it. Okay. It's also on my GitHub, so you can also copy it there, apparently, if you really need to or if you want to. What else is there? There's this replace all function, which I have to get. The replace all, just, it doesn't give the highlight. It will just replace everything by the text and give us the actual translation. And that's all good for that. The last thing we need is this other, instead of to British English, we need the to English British. Or in our case, we call it to American English. One of the only differences here is that we use British only and American British spelling and American British titles. Again, I guess. And I guess, but this is reversed dictionary. So we use this reverse dictionary function as well at the top. Let me get that. Yeah, so this reverse dict function, all it does is it takes our dictionary and it just takes accessorize and puts it on this side and this word on and puts it on this side. And that's how you do that. Interesting, interesting. You do object.entries. And now everything should work. This time regex is a little bit different. It's got a dot in it instead of colon. And we also say to American here instead of to British. And that's because it gets used inside this translate function somewhere. Yeah, right here. If the locale is to British, then it will do the time matching differently. And so now we can just try this out. So I think most of the tests will pass. If I do hell, everything looks good to me. If I do color, go color. If I go British to American, and I do color, it should go color. Yep. Okay, perfect. So if I take this localhost 3000 and I try it, inside of their project. Okay, it's already there. Then it passes all of them except for the 24 unit tests and 6 functional tests. Let me grab those now. What do they give you to work with in the unit tests anyways? So if I go to tests, unit tests, wow, they don't give you much, but they tell you what you have to do for these tests, I believe. Write the following test and unit tests. Mangoes are my favorite fruit to British English. I ate yogurt for breakfast. Now let me see what I came up with. Yeah, so I translate what they wanted us to do. Translate mangoes are my favorite fruit. And so I go, mangoes are my favorite fruit. And it responds with this different favorite word. And then we call done. And we basically just go down the line and translate to British English all this stuff until we get to the ones that it wants to translate to American English. We do all of these different sentences, make sure it works perfectly for all of them, and then we try our highlight translation. Here we actually give it the span and highlight class because that's what gets pasted in there with the highlight translation. And that way it goes favorite, yogurt, and then I do that just for a few of them, not all of them, just a few. Now let's take a look at the functional tests. Functional tests looks like we only need like 6 of them. But the thing with the functional tests is they make a real request to the server using chai. So chai.request.post, it calls our API route, and it sends the text and locale, and it makes sure that what gets responded with is the translation correct, and in this sentence with the highlight. And I think all of these have the highlight in them. This one, it wants an invalid locale field. So here we say locale is invalid and it says invalid value. Here we do missing text field and it responds with required fields missing. Translate with missing locale field and it says again required fields missing. With empty text, no text to translate, and with text that needs no translation is everything that looks good to me. Okay. So that's all those tests. In order to run these tests, you'll see sample.env here. Here it has a node.env equals test. We actually have to create a .env file. I know it's kind of weird, but this is like standardized way of keeping secrets in your project. And we can just copy over the sample env. That's the reason for it. They want you to copy it over. And then we can uncomment this line and then it will run the test for us after I restart the server. So if I go npm run start again, then it will run our tests. And it looks like not all of them have passed, which is interesting, isn't it? Oh, I have one failing. Great. What could possibly be the issue? In my unit test, I have no idea why it's failing. Oh, you know what might be the issue? I wonder if in their file is a little messed up. Check that first. So British, wait no, the titles. Where's the titles? Yeah, here's the titles. Mrs. No, that should be right. Hmm. Oh, I think there is one thing I do change here, and we just have to put Mrs. in front of Mr. instead of American to British titles. I forgot why we had to do that, but I think it'll pass all the tests now. Let's check. Yeah, now we have 30 passing. Okay. I have no idea why I did that. Something about, I guess, this being 3 letters long instead of two, throws things off. I I have no idea. But now it should pass all the tests on FreeCodeCamp. And yep, all the tests have completed and we can move on. Let me take a look at what we did. Translator.js. We have all this stuff here. You can copy it on my thing here, or you can go to GitHub and grab it there. Either way works for me. Right. And API.js. Actually fairly simple. We just have a bunch of checks in here and then respond appropriately. All right. That's it for me. Thank you for watching and have a nice rest of your day. And goodbye.